Do you want to take control of your health? Hear the truth about dieting and weight loss? Learn the best strategies for maintaining a healthy lifestyle? This is the Yossi Muller Show.
And welcome to the show. I'm Yossi Muller.
And I'm Dudi Muller.
Dudi is a chef with a background in nutrition.
Yossi is a nutritionist with a background in nutrition.
Every show we do, we take another myth and debunk it.
We crush it.
Today's topic is calories are not an exact system. People are under the impression that calories, it's not an exact system. It's a general way to kind of get you on the right path. But it's not like a calorie is 0.008121 of a pound, and 200 calories are an ounce, and 3,500 calories are a pound, and a calorie is the same for every single person in the world who ever existed and whoever will exist in the future. And if you create a calorie deficit of 3,500 calories, you lose a pound. And every single calorie is the exact same number on the scale to the decimal. And there are no exceptions. And it doesn't matter who you are. And it doesn't matter what time of the day or time of the week. It simply does not matter. It is so exact and so infinitesimally nuanced. It can't be like that. That's not how it works with the calories.
Right, of course. It can't be that specific.
It's got to be something more like, if I'm taking a test and I need to get an A, so anywhere from a 93 to 100 is an A. And if I get 100, that was pointless because I could have gotten an A on my test by getting a 93. And with calories, I could still get what I want to get done by not exerting as much effort. And whatever I do could be a waste, or I might get it anyway, or I might not get exactly what I want, even if I did what I was supposed to do. It's not an exact system.
Meanwhile,
It is. It is so exact. It's beyond exact. But the extent that we understand decimals and calories and weights and ounces, we could relate to that. But it's more exact than anything you've ever encountered. I could promise you that.
right, there are no tricks that your body does to you to make you gain weight. Like if you start looking at foods. I gain weight if I look at cake. Yeah, at the next wedding you go to, try staring at the cake and see if you gain weight. Also see how many awkward looks you get. And if you do gain weight, it's probably because of the food you ate at the schmorg.
Right.
You don't gain weight through osmosis. Right? Oh, I just stand there and I gain weight. It's the thyroid. It's my metabolism. It is your thyroid and it is your metabolism.
And
it's an exact system.
And that's part of the exact system. Money is an exact system. Whatever I spend and whatever I make, if I create a deficit with my spending or if I create a surplus, that is exactly the system. With calories, so metabolism, someone who has a faster metabolism can afford to indulge in more foods and still create a calorie deficit or maintain weight or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. But it's exact. It's beyond exact.
Yes, it's just basic math. It's physics. So why do people believe that calories are not an exact system?
Well, personal experience. I was once good on my diet and I didn't lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was once not so good on my diet and I anyway still lost weight. I could be doing the same diet and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I might be doing the same thing someone else is doing. And for me, I get one result and the other person gets a different result.
That's confusing.
And I know that there are lots of diets out there and some of them don't even require calorie counting and they work. So how could it possibly have to do with calories? There are diets that work that have seemingly nothing to do with calories.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm calorie counting how many calories I'm eating, and I don't see results. There seems to be some connection to calories, but it can't be as exact as you're saying it is.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I've also experienced that. Why are we wrong in thinking that calories aren't exact? We do have so many situations that seems that calories are not an exact system.
Okay, so calories are an exact system and can't not be like that. To say that calories are not an exact system is saying that something can be created from nothing and something could get destroyed without any cause. You can't create fat in the body unless calories are introduced into the body, and a calorie can't escape the body unless there is a cause. We're not dealing with human error here. We're dealing with something that was around before we came onto this planet. We're dealing with the divine. If you understand physics, it's heresy to believe that calories are not an exact system. It's believing that randomly things burst into existence and things disappear. A calorie is a unit of energy going into the body, and if it's too much, it's a unit of fat getting stored in the body.
When I was a kid, I might have believed that things could just happen without any cause. Why is there toothpaste all over the bathroom? My mother would ask. I don't know. Did you do anything? No, nothing. Nothing happened. It just is. It all happened by itself. Things don't happen by themselves. Things follow rules. And in this situation, the rule is calories are literally an exact system.
It's like saying math is not an exact system. 1 + 1 usually equals 2, but not on a Tuesday.
Not on Friday afternoon, right before Shabbos, because that's when you weigh the most. What does that have to do with anything? Why is that going to change what the system is?
1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 if I don't feel like it should.
Right. If I have a birthday party, then it changes.
You're dealing with math and physics. And the reason why these arguments of I was once good on my diet and I didn't lose weight, or I once wasn't good on my diet, all these arguments that make people believe that it's not an exact system, is because they don't understand a few concepts.
What are those concepts, Yossi?
For starters, there are different types of calories. Calories could come from carbs, fats, or protein. Calories could come from whole foods or processed foods. Calories could come from foods that are high in water content and vitamin and mineral content. Foods that are healthy and foods that are generally high in protein and fiber and water and vitamins and minerals make your body burn additional calories to process it. Foods that are high in starch and sugar and fat and low in protein, fiber, vitamins and minerals and water and processed foods, those foods get your body to not burn calories efficiently because it's processed and changed. And if you want to get into human error, the whole idea of processing food is a big human error, because before humans decided to process food at a time when people would just eat fruits, vegetables, protein, whole foods, there were never any issues with heart attacks or diabetes or obesity. These are all inventions based on processed food. Processed food makes you gain weight. Processed food makes you hungry. Processed food makes you crave. Processed food makes you sick. And processed food also makes your body not burn calories because the machine did the processing already. The body doesn't have to work to process the food. This assumption that an average person burns 2,000 calories a day makes an assumption that you're eating proper food.
It's
Your
like
body
saying,
doesn't have to work to process carbs and fats and garbage.
it's like you have a car and it takes unleaded gas and you decide that you're going to put in diesel. Suddenly the system of gas doesn't work anymore.
The system works.
You put in the wrong thing. You keep processed carbs is not what your body's built for. So you're going to say, well, it's the same calories. Yeah, the calories is a system depending on which calories will affect it. Gas is also a system. How cars work is also a system.
And if you want to get technical, that's also exact. We could give you the formula. That's not the point. The short answer is it's approximately 25% difference for processed food and unprocessed food. In other words, your metabolism works 25% slower, but there's an exact formula for that. If you want to talk about the most junk, the worst possible food to eat, like diet soda mixed with jelly beans, because the diet soda doesn't contribute calories, but it contributes weight gain, slowing the metabolism. And then you want to compare egg white with lettuce, which is very good for your metabolism. So then you're talking about a double. There's a 50% difference when you're dealing with extremes. We don't have time to go through different levels of foods in between, like if it's a good carb, like let's say whole wheat bread. The short answer is that if it's a regular calorie going in the body, like if it's a carb but not a processed carb, like fruit or whole wheat bread or potatoes, then the body works at the normal pace. If it's a protein or a vegetable, the body will work at a faster pace, approximately 25% faster. And if it's a junk food like sugar or processed carbs, then the body will work approximately 25% slower. But that's still an exact system. Another thing you have to know is that when you see a change in the scale, it's not necessarily a change in fat. It could be a change in water. Your body is 60% water, but not always. Sometimes it's 59%, sometimes 61%.
It fluctuates. And therefore, you can have excess water weight or a decrease in water weight, and that will cause fluctuations, and that will make you think that your calorie system is inconsistent. Meanwhile,
it's not inconsistent.
You just weren't taking into account the water weight.
And how about this? Speaking of human error, people who are on diets make miscalculations.
Oh!
And most of the time, someone says the diet didn't work for me the second time. It's because the second time they weren't as careful on the diet as they were the first time. And we are very good at convincing ourselves that we're on a diet when we're not. And this idea that two people could be on the same diet and not see the same results, that's because different people burn different number of calories. And that could also be figured out to the calorie. I have a machine that does that. And if you don't want to use the machine, you can estimate it based on gender, age, height, weight, muscle mass. You can get a very good idea. And if you don't want to get a good idea based on that, you could count what you eat and see your weight and then figure out what your metabolism is. If you see that you're eating a certain number of calories and your weight stays the same, then that has to be the number of calories you're burning, which is your metabolism. And if you're losing a pound a week, for example, and you're counting your calories, then you clearly are burning 3,500 more calories than that. You could do the math, just learn the formula, and you could figure out what your metabolism is. And different people have different metabolisms. And you yourself, your metabolism will change. The number of calories you burn will change based on changes of your weight, age, and muscle mass. And perhaps you're taking medicine now that's slowing down your metabolism. People don't know that certain medicines, antidepressants, beta blockers, allergy medicines, birth control, they cause serious change in metabolism. A standard dose of an antidepressant is a 15-pound difference in weight just from the medicine slowing down a person's metabolism. And there are different procedures people could be having. And diet soda, maybe a person started drinking diet soda. That will change their metabolism, not for the better. And diets that don't count calories, right? We said that, it can't be that it's an exact system because there are some diets that don't count calories. They really do count calories. If a diet says that you're allowed to eat as much oil as you want, but it has to be coconut oil, they're counting calories. Because by making a rule that you can only have coconut oil, you're not going to end up eating potato chips or French fries because they are not made with coconut oil. So every diet that does not officially count calories is really counting calories for you.
They're just using some other criteria because they believe that that criteria will prevent you from eating the extra calories that you cannot have.
And it's so important to know that calories are an exact system. Because if you realize this, you will stick to your diet. Because if you think it's kind of a system that's not so exact, if you think it's a system that works to an extent, then you'll be scared to break your diet. But if you know that it's exactly to the calorie and to the decimal on the scale, then you'll be more motivated to stick to your diet.
Because you will know that if you do stick to your diet, you will get to your goal. Because without the uncertainty that comes with the thought that calories aren't an exact system, you know you can do anything. You can get it done. It'll be incredibly satisfying when you do.
When you know what the results will be when you do something, you will do it. If you're not 100% certain, then you're not going to be motivated to do it. You're not going to be so scared to break your diet. You need to be sufficiently scared to avoid doing things you're not supposed to do, and you need to be sufficiently empowered to do what you should do. And knowing that there's no uncertainty is very helpful.
Absolutely.
There's a funny, true story that I think is relevant to today's discussion.
What is the story?
Basically, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's some noise downstairs at my in-law's house, and my sister-in-law wakes up and goes down to investigate what's going on. Turns out there's a burglar, a woman, who walked in and took the silver candlesticks and also an envelope of cash, and she started making her way out of the house with the candlesticks and the envelope full of cash. So my sister-in-law, instead of confronting her, she got scared. So she quickly turned around to run back upstairs, and she made a big noise because her foot banged one of the steps. So the lady who was stealing, the thief, she looks up at my sister-in-law and she says, "You scared me." And she walks out with the stolen goods. And that's the story.
So she was scared, but not scared enough to stop what she was doing.
Yes.
Which is exactly the point of your story.
It's not enough to be scared. You have to actually be scared enough to not do
whatever it is that you're afraid of. So it's an exact system. What should we do about that?
So learn about the different types of calories. What is a carb? What's a fat? What's sugar? What foods have what components in them? How fiber, protein, vitamins, minerals, and water affect the metabolism positively, and what is the composition of each food. Understand the difference between water weight and fat weight and how to tell the difference. Make sure you're correctly calculating the calories you're consuming. Make sure you're being honest with yourself. Learn what your metabolism is. Learn how your metabolism is changing. Understand what a calorie deficit is.
And how to create one.
Learn the system. If you learn the system, you could, I'm not going to say you could game the system because that makes it sound like weight loss is easy. It's not easy, but you could find hacks and tricks and techniques to really, really be successful once you understand the system. But you're not going to try to understand the system if you don't believe it's exact. And if you do believe it's exact,
then you can take advantage of the system and use it for your benefit.
And be motivated to be successful and be sufficiently afraid of making trouble.
And that takes us to the end of this episode.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you join us next time.